Hi everyone, welcome back to Dr. English. If here you probably already listened to my video of chapter 1, which was quite long. Probably be pleased to see that this one's a little bit shorter, but there's still quite a few things to say about it. So this is chapter 2. Before we go, don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can stay in touch. So first thing is that first chapter was really quite long and involved, and this one's the follow-up chapter, the next one, is really quite short. And I want you, while I'm reading it, to have a think about, why the author's chosen to have this chapter. I'll read it first and then we can discuss some of the things that are in it. There were few people left in the Elgin Theatre now. A woman washing costumes in wardrobe, a man ironing other costumes nearby, an actress, the one who'd played Cordelia, drinking tequila backstage with the assistant stage manager, a young stagehand mopping the stage and nodding his head in time to the music on his iPod. In a dressing room, the woman whose job it was to watch the child actresses was trying to console the sobbing little girl who'd been on stage when Arthur died. So there's, I think, 6 people that are mentioned there. These 6 people are separate from each other. They're sort of scattered all over the theatre. A couple of people drinking tequila together, somebody with his iPod in just going about his daily business. Tanya, who we soon will find out has been having an affair with Arthur, is still working. She's trying to sort out the little girl who she's got to look after, and the little girl's alone there with her. So there's all these people sort of scattered all over the building, and then there's another group of 6 people who are having a conversation. And I think the author here is trying to really emphasise that this death, although shocking to everyone, this is not one big happy family that's all been brought together in grief. These are people who are leading their own kind of separate lives, and Arthur's not really someone who's at the centre of their love and understanding. So we have to get that sort of sense of people not having that connectedness with each other, which is one of the themes that she really wants to bring out. A man's life is gone, and who really cares? And that's pretty sad, eh? And now we're going to move on to another group of people. 6 stragglers had drifted to the bar in the lobby, where a bartender mercifully remained. The stage manager was there, also Edgar and Gloucester, a makeup artist, Goneril, and an executive producer who'd been in the audience. Those, just to point out that Edgar, Gloucester and Goneril are character names from King Lear. They're not the names of actual people. So as yet, we've got all the way down to here, and aside from Arthur, all of these people are not being given their names. At the moment when Jeevan was wading into the snowdrifts in Allen Gardens, the bartender was pouring a whiskey for Goneril. The conversation had turned to informing Arthur's next of kin. But who was his family? Goneril was perched on a bar stool. Her eyes were red. Without makeup, she had a face like marble, the palest and most flawless skin the bartender had ever seen. She seemed much smaller off stage, also much less evil. Who did he have? He had one son, the makeup artist said, Tyler. How old? 7 or 8. The makeup artist knew exactly how old Arthur's son was, but didn't want to let on that he read gossip magazines. I think he lives with his mother in Israel, maybe Jerusalem or Tel Aviv. He knew it was Jerusalem. Oh, right, that blonde actress, Edgar said. Elizabeth, wasn't it? Eliza, something like that. Ex-wife number 3? The producer. I think the kid's mother was ex-wife number 2. Poor kid, the producer said. Did Arthur have anyone he was close with? This provoked an uncomfortable silence. Arthur had been carrying on an affair with the woman who looked after the child actresses. Everyone present knew about it, except the producer, but none of them knew if the others knew. Gloucester was the one who said the woman's name. Where's Tanya? Who's Tanya? The producer asked. One of the kids hasn't been picked up yet. I think Tanya's in the kids' dressing room. The stage manager had never seen anyone die before. He wanted a cigarette. Well, Goneril said, who else is there? Tanya, the little boy, All those ex-wives? Anyone else? Siblings? Parents? Who's Tanya? The producer asked again. How many ex-wives are we talking about here? The bartender was polishing a glass. He has a brother, the makeup artist said, but I can't remember his name. I just remember him saying he had a younger brother. I expect we're meant to wonder there whether the makeup artist has really heard him say that or whether he's read about that. I think there were maybe 3 or 4, Goneril said, talking about the ex-wives. 3? 3. The makeup artist was blinking away tears. But I don't know if the latest divorce had been finalised. So the makeup artist is quite a clever minor character who Mandel uses here to show the way that celebrities' lives become public property, that the person who knows them best is somebody who's read about them in a magazine, but that actually the relationships that many of these celebrities are able to have with other people are quite superficial. So those who know him actually know him personally, don't know him very well at all. The person who knows him the best is obtained all the details of his life through gossip magazines. It's a comment on society. So Arthur wasn't married to anyone at the time he wasn't married to anyone tonight. The producer knew this sounded foolish, but he didn't know how else to phrase it. Arthur Leander had walked into the theatre just a few hours ago, and it was inconceivable that he wouldn't walk in again tomorrow. 3 divorces, Gloucester said. Can you imagine? He was recently divorced himself. He was trying to think of the last thing Arthur had said to him. Something about blocking in the second act. He wished he could remember. Has anyone been informed? Who do we call? I should call his lawyer, the producer said. This solution was inarguable, but so depressing that the group drank for several minutes in silence before anyone could bring themselves to speak. His lawyer? The bartender said finally. Christ, what a thing. You die and they call you lawyer. Who else is there? Goneril asked. His agent? The 7-year-old? The ex-wives? Tanya? I know, the bartender said. It's just a hell of a thing. They were silent again. Someone made a comment about the snow coming down hard, and it was. They could see it through the glass doors at the far end of the lobby. From the bar, the snow was almost abstract, a film about bad weather on a deserted street. And again, that's that playing with the fluidity, the blurriness between art and life, where what's real actually begins to look like a film. And maybe it kind of mirrors that sort of sense of disbelief that they all have that this very famous person that they all know has died. Well, here's to Arthur, the bartender said. In the children's dressing room, Tanya was giving Kirsten a paperweight. Here, she said, as she placed it into Kirsten's hands. I'm going to keep trying to reach your parents, and you just try to stop crying and look at this pretty thing. And Kirsten, teary-eyed and breathless, a few days shy of her 8th birthday, gazed at the object and thought it was the most beautiful, the most wonderful, the strangest thing anyone had ever given her. It was a lump of glass with a storm cloud trapped inside. In the lobby, the people gathered at the bar clinked their glasses together. To Arthur, they said. They drank for a few more minutes and then went their separate ways in the storm. And of course, this storm here is meant to be the literal storm that's happening outside, but also the storm that's approaching, this end of the world that they're all going out into. And of course, this last line, which 22 people have highlighted, really brings that home. Of all of them there at the bar that night, the bartender was the one who survived the longest. He died 3 weeks later on the road out of the city. So all of these people in that bar, all 6 of them, don't survive. And Mandel likes to do this. She likes to remind the reader that no matter how caught up in their lives and their existences people can be, their end can be very, very close around the corner. So there's a couple of things to point out in here. The first is this lump of glass that, I imagine it as being, it's meant to be a paperweight, and it has a storm inside it. And I've actually looked fairly hard for a picture of something that might resemble this, and sadly wasted a lot of time and not found anything that exactly cuts it. But it's meant to be very beautiful and have a storm inside it, and I think that there is the beauty of it, but also the idea of a storm being contained and being under control. I think that item is meant to represent. Also, Kirsten, this little girl, she carries that paperweight with her for the rest of her days, as long as we're with her. So when we catch up with her, age 28, she's still got it, and it's very precious to her, a relic of the old world, but also some significance for losing Arthur, something that's obviously stays with her. Have a think about why there are no names, why these characters don't have names. Now, there's a couple of names there. There's Tanya, there's Kirsten, there's Arthur. But all of these other people, these 6 people in the bar, none of them are named. And what they're talking about is also Arthur and how none of them really knew him. The one who knows him the best, the makeup artist, knows him from reading gossip magazines. So, and he's clearly not close with his family. He's got all of these ex-wives. Nobody's really sure who they are. And it's this kind of sad, disconnected life where there's no grieving person that's really obvious that you would ring up. And they're all kind of talking about that, kind of appreciating it. And we're kind of appreciating them as people who are kind of nameless in that way. How much do they know each other? And they all go separately into the future and don't make it. I think the chapter is deliberately short because there's not a lot of grieving amongst the people who know Arthur for Arthur. It happens, they're shocked by it, they clink their glasses together and toast him, and that'll be just about the end of all of that for them. Even the mention of, who do you call? We'll call his lawyer. Even the fact that Tanya, the person he's having the relationship with, having an affair with, she's out the back with a little girl. Nobody's gone to see if she's okay or looking after her. But that's really all there is in this chapter, and I'm not going to drag it on talking too much more about it, and hopefully you'll tune in for the next one. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe.